all about physical and chemical change. First, let's define the two by the use of an electronic device that is used for storing and processing data, making calculations, uploading, and web surfing.
You mean a computer?
Yeah.
Luckily for us, we have D.U.M.M.I.E, the walking socket computer. Available nowhere for 6 hours.
Physical change occurs when one or more physical properties or material changes, while chemical change happens when there is a change in the composition of a material.
Tommy Carmela, what if we do an experiment to understand further physical and chemical changes?
You're right, Tommy Jerome. We should do an experiment. Are you Tommy Carmela? No, but I know that you're not Tommy Carmela. So why did you answer the question? I'm sorry, it's just that... Sorry doesn't cover it.
Now, you dummies should quit. Tommy Jerome, your idea sounds handy. Will you please explain the objective of this experiment?
The objective of this experiment is to differentiate physical and chemical change and vice versa.
Now, let's move on to the second group that will talk about the materials and procedures of the experiment. They will also do the experiment themselves.
Thank you, First Dama Group. So now, the materials that we need are the following. A container filled with water and another container.
2 pieces of cloth, lighter, dye, and candle. Let's start our experiment.
First, you need to pour the dye on the container filled with water. But in our case, we already put the dye in the water for convenience. Then put one piece of cloth. Make sure that the cloth that you're using is white. Dami-dami ka! Let's start! The next step is to take back the cloth and let it dry.
We call this tryout number 1. Tryout number 2 begins with lighting the candle with the use of lighter. Then, burn a piece of paper.
We've asked you to have one piece of paper and one piece of white cloth so you can compare them. Now, let's move on to the third dummy group that will discuss the questions and their conclusion.
Hello, Jeff is the name and I'm from Group 1. And now, let's do the recap. Today, we have done an activity regarding to the physical and chemical changes that matter undergo. For physical change, we use the dye and the white cloth for the explanation. On the other hand, we use papers and matches in the explanation of chemical change. Here are Pearly Riquizo, Pauline Cajigal, and Luis Miguel Villegas to answer the observation questions and also the conclusion that supposedly I am going to perform. Thank you.
Take it away, guys! Now, we will try to answer a few questions related to the experiment and the topic.
So each one of us must pick a question from Tommy JP. So pick the questions and we'll try to answer them.
Okay, Pearly. Let's start with Pearly. Pearly.
The question is, what kind of changes did tryout 1 undergo? Is it physical or chemical? Well, tryout 1 underwent changing in color, and this change is physical, for it did not change its composition and its physical properties has changed.
Okay, it's my turn. Okay, what kind of changes did tryout number 2 undergo? Is it physical or chemical? The piece of paper turned into ash, and this is chemical change because its composition changed.
Okay, my questions. What is the difference between physical and chemical changes? So based on their answers and our experimentations, physical change is the change of the matter wherein the properties of it, specifically the intensive property, will remain and only the extensive properties will change, especially its color and the other properties that is present in the material. And for the last question, in behalf of Jeff D. Samoya, we will answer his question. Give the conclusion. So, for my conclusion, I and we therefore conclude that there are two types of changes that a matter undergo: the physical and chemical changes.
The physical change involves a change in the physical appearance of an object. In our experiment, the color is the only physical feature that has changed.
Okay, so chemical change. Chemical change is basically the change in composition of an object. Just like in our experiment a while ago, when we burned the paper. The burned paper turned into ash. So it's not a paper anymore, it changed its composition, it turned into ash. Okay, so that's our answer in behalf of Jeff D. Samoya. He will be giving you the recap for our whole experiment.
In behalf of our fellow group mates, Carmela Sumage, Jeff Samoya, and Hannah Ricofrente,
Once again, I am
Danica, Perly,
Eliza, Jerome,
Nicole,
Luigi,
Jiwa,
Pauline,
JP, for Dummies of Chemistry.
Just to be clear, D.U.M.M.I.E.S for chemistry stands for
This